What's up, Passionate DJs? A couple of quick things before we get started with episode 195. First thing is, the guys and I are trying to boost our Instagram account numbers. We're trying to get up to 10,000 followers. We've got a little ways to go, so if you've been listening to the show for a long time, you've never followed us on Instagram, we'd appreciate it if you would take the time to do that now. Go follow us at instagram.com/passionatedj. If you already follow us there, maybe just go comment on some things or something. Just show us a little love, and let's get that, those positive vibes going over on the Instagram account and get those numbers up. We've noticed that our social following is kind of scattered across various networks, and so we're trying to get everybody over there as well, because we post things on Instagram that we don't post in other places. So go check us out there on Instagram. Also, today's episode is about our home studios, me and the guys, and so we're going to be telling you a little bit about like some recent changes that we've made and why we've made them for various reasons, better workflow and so on. And so we've put together we're about to put together a companion video on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/passionatedj, that will go along with this episode of the podcast, where we'll be doing sort of little mini tours and talking about our home setups and the changes that we've made recently. So you'll be able to see firsthand why we did the things that we did and talk about it. So go check us out on YouTube. That'll probably land about a week after the Monday after this episode lands. So tomorrow is the 24th, so give me another week after that and I'll put the video together. I hope you enjoy, and now on with the show. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I'm your host, David Michael, and this is a crew show. We're all here. What's up, fellas?
What up?
How you doing? And not only that, we're recording in Passionate DJ Studio South, I guess.
Right.
It's been, what?
It's a little warmer down
more
south.
Than maybe 2 years since we recorded
Probably
a show in this room?
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah, I think so.
Probably don't recognize it.
Yeah, it looks a lot different, which, kind of brings us here today. So... Yeah, we're talking about, it seems like we've all been kind of making changes to our like personal setups and our rooms and our desks and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, we all didn't just decide like we want to mess things up. Like we all did this for a reason, right? So I was kind of starting, my reasons are probably different than the reasons you guys changed your stuff up. And maybe we should just record an episode on this. Yeah. And so that brings us to today.
Cool.
So I will say, sitting in this room, Mr. Turlington, I really like this new setup. It feels like the room is twice as big as the last time I was in here.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would much rather have a room that is literally twice as big for more toys and such. But that was one of the main reasons for it. Like, it was a secondary main reason. Like, I have a primary reason, but that was definitely one of them. Before I had some different furniture in here, so like just changing the furniture, changing the layout, flow of the room, all of that stuff. So,
that desk makes a huge difference, dude.
Oh yeah. Like, when we get to that, that's it's going to sound so absolutely ludicrous and stupid, but like there was a whole reason I went with this setup very specifically. So
a large part of your changes were revolved around like trying to be more efficient, make more efficient use of the space.
Efficient use of the space, comfort, and to change up the chi of the room, for lack of a better term or whatever, because like
feng shui,
it's something. Because basically, what it boiled down to is that for 4 years, this has been both a creative space and a workspace, and
like real work.
Yeah. And the more that it fell on the work side of the spectrum, especially with school and everything, the less it felt like a creative space. So getting to that like creative energy of the room, I felt like I needed to like just throw a grenade at the feet and blow the whole thing up and reimagine some sort of a different workflow, but without like totally throwing everything out and throwing down walls and
but although we did discuss that.
We did discuss it.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't get a lot, other than the desk, you didn't get a lot of new things, right? You just kind of changed the way you're using it?
Yeah, for the most part. So, yeah, definitely the desk has all been changed. Like, I had what most people would consider a producer-style desk, multiple tiers.
Yeah,
had
little built-in racks,
exactly,
didn't it? All that stuff, yeah.
So, I had that.
Sexy, though.
Yeah, I
nice.
used it for years. It's still down in the basement. So anybody who if you're in the market for a producer desk, give me a shout at Turlington J3 at anyway. So
good vibes included.
Right. So I love that desk. It was a great desk, but it just the problem with it is it's a deep desk. So coming off of the wall and the way that the furniture that I had in here, it literally came out to where you are now, and then by the time you add a chair, and you guys remember being in here. That desk. It just. It just jutted out.
It was thick.
So, yeah.
Well, you said something about the workspace and the creative space being in the same area, and I struggle with that too. I have the same problem, but I think that there's something to be said too about like the room. If you feel like the room is closing in on you, either because the way you've placed the furniture or you have all your work clutter in there and stuff, like it's hard for me to get into a creative space if there's shit everywhere. I just can't do it, even if it's furniture. Like if it's right here, I'm like, I don't know why I need all this space to like plink something out on a keyboard or whatever, but I do. It's just it's like a mental block. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's big.
Yeah, for sure. And that, so all of that was, that was number one. And I had literally been looking for probably a year and a half, 2 years. Like, what am I going to do for a new desk? And I went through all kinds of different options. I looked at more studio desks. There were a couple of them that were just so super sexy, but like it really didn't buy me anything. Mm-hmm. Like it looked neater and it would have been more functional in that
from the workflow aspect.
Well, mostly because like this one that I was specifically looking at, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll make sure I get it to you so we can put it in show notes, but because it really is a gorgeous desk, and it'll set you back like maybe $800 with depending on your finish and stuff like that. But one of the challenges I had with my previous desk is that it had a slide out keyboard tray that would have fit an 88 key MIDI keyboard. As long as it was this thin.
So one of those like
one that you can roll up.
Right. So like literally like I've got the Native Instruments Complete S49 Mark II.
That thing's so hot. Oh my god.
I got so hot right
the black keys.
Mine's all murdered out. And I love this keyboard, but the only place I could put it was on the tabletop tier. I couldn't put it on the actual keyboard because it was literally like
just
half
a
an
smidge
inch.
too.
Yeah, just a half an inch. So what I did is I got like some strips of wood that were about a half inch and then drilled those in and then tried to
create some space.
Yeah, to give it a wedge and bring it down just a little bit, but oh man, and that got me even closer, so then that just made me even more pissed off about it because I was so close, but I didn't actually get it. They say measure twice, cut once, and I was like,
nah, screw that. I ain't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. I balled it. It's close. So, so then I put everything back the way that it was, and just got frustrated, and then okay, I'm gonna figure out how I want to do this.
So what about you, Tony? Like, and I guess how far back should we go on yours? Because really, you kind of started this off by moving to all your stuff to where it is now.
So we have you to blame for this shit.
This is your fault.
I totally didn't appreciate that. Yeah, thanks,
Tony. Let me
Tony.
forewarn you: you will never be happy.
Oh, that's true. That's out of
I'm
probably here in a couple of years. You're going to switch it up again.
Oh,
yeah.
20 something years in DJing and less than that, but equally long in the tooth when it comes to producing. I can definitely vouch for that.
Yeah, but I know you made a pretty smart move no matter what, because you went. I mean, you at least tripled the amount of room that you had.
Oh yeah,
and it's where you wanted to spend all your time, right? So what kind of prompted that move, and why'd you put it where you did?
Well, at first it was upstairs in just like a bedroom, and it was strictly used for that. But then I moved it downstairs because, Well, for the longest time, my desk was actually in a cove, so it was like almost a natural base bin, where I had the monitors, and the desk fit perfectly there, and everything was great. But where my setup was, I just wasn't feeling it. And then I did the green screen and moved this shelf right in the middle of my living room. And, my couch is huge. It's really deep, and it's just all the room. I just kept feeling cluttered. So finally, because I didn't want to put anything in front of my picture window. Because
I can totally appreciate why. That's a nice window.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. So I never wanted to put anything. I put my decks in front of it because it only came up, yay high. I still had a huge picture window, but then I moved my desk over and I moved this into that little cove, and it fit perfectly.
Yeah.
But I'm still at the point where I want to move everything else and get my wires right and do all that. But
because you're doing a lot of, I don't know how much you want to talk about, but you're doing a lot of experimenting with your setup as well, and like setting up cameras and messing with all that.
Yes.
So I think that the place that you put it it really helps with that, because going back to the space thing, like the hardest thing about recording video is like being able to get an angle where you get everything you want to get, but it's in the right place and the lighting is right and stuff. And if the room is really small, it's just really hard to do that.
Yes, it
is.
is.
So the space that you're in, you've got like what, 12-foot ceilings or 14-foot ceilings or something. It's a beautiful room.
Yeah.
And so I really like the way you've got it set up now, because you've got your DJ stuff and your production stuff all together now, and you're kind of set up to do some recording and streaming hopefully in the future. So
Yes.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. And Mo,
What's your Twitch handle again?
that's Mo's favorite question.
Yeah. Got to promote my dude, man.
That's right.
You just want to hear me say it all the time. They love the D.
They love the D.
That's so clever, man.
I like it.
So Mo, you had to get crafty, didn't you? You did some building.
Yeah,
Or
a little bit of
some
building.
modifying.
Yeah, well, for me, it was a matter of my son moved out because he's in college now, one of my 3 boys, and he just arbitrarily had the largest room in the house. And I was like in this Harry Potter closet up on the second floor. And
Gotta love Cape Cods, right?
yeah, exactly. So it was like, I'm 6'2" on a good day, and like it's shaped like a triangle, and so like I'd go to stand up and I'd hit my head on one of the angles, and it was really hard to put like stuff on the walls because with all the stuff I do with the nonprofit for the fitness stuff, like I have everything written out and I have all these calendars, so when I was writing stuff, I'm kind of like having to angle back, and everything is really soup sandwich up there. But and also because the house was built in 1939, like everything is brick and mortar, so I get shit for signal up there, so I have to have my Wi-Fi router has to be like aimed up the stairs, and as soon as you go to the left or the right of the doorway, like the signal drops off, so I had to have a booster just in the office.
I've got the signal extenders all over.
Yeah, for a house that's only like 1,500 square feet, I got like 2 boosters in my house just because it's.
I finally invested in a mesh, Wi-Fi mesh.
That's
network.
what I have. Yeah. And so one was that my wife insisted that I get out of that office as soon as our son moved out, and the other thing is she wanted me to combine all my DJ stuff and my office for the sake of just not dying as I carry speakers up and down into the basement. Because for all my mobile stuff, like I kept all my stuff in the basement. She didn't like keeping it in the basement because she's from the Midwest and she's had flooded basements, and I've never lived with a basement, so I never understood her fear.
Lost many of records.
And then hearing you guys talk about all that stuff, so I was like, okay, there's some merit to that.
I lost Passionate DJ Studios version 1.0 to a flood.
So it was that. So my son moving out, me having the opportunity to combine those 2 parts of my life together, but also like Trip was saying, I didn't want to have it so that way. I mean, it is my workspace because I work from home, but I have it kind of sectioned off into my creative space too, right. And they all kind of like skip over each other, so that way like there's really 3 parts of the room. So I have my work desk, which is in the middle, got a good deal on one of those desks that like stands up and all that stuff, so it's really cool because I have a big window in front of me, so well, not right now, but like during the summer and spring, like when I first moved in there, like I could stand up and look out the window past my monitors, and it's kind of amazing what a nice view
Oh, yeah.
too, in your workspace.
So for people who don't already know this and haven't been on the following the podcast all these years, so Mo and I are actually neighbors.
Yeah.
Like we're looking out one window here, and we can actually look into his studio.
We're gonna shoot footage of his studio just from over here. He's feeling lazy. Got the zoom lens.
So, but I can attest to that. I can vouch for that because when we moved in here, and I immediately said, "This is going to be this will be the studio," and that's where the decks are going, and I'm pointing at a window right now that like literally looks back on the pastures where all the horses are.
Yeah. So luckily there's 2 windows in there. So like my desk is in front of a window and my DJ stuff is in front of the other window facing Turlington Studios. So that way I can get motivated. Like when I don't want to do it, I look over there. He's over there working harder than I am.
Nah, I usually fall asleep right here about 10:30, 11.
but it was good to be able to combine. Well, not having to go to the basement every time I have a gig. So now I can just take it straight out, the front door, because I'll usually back up my van up to the front door and just load everything in there. So carrying that 18-inch sub up and down those stairs was kind of a chore at times. But it's more. It sounds like all of us were in a cluttered situation.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what prompted all this. And so, like for me, I just have a lot of room for activities now.
Mine might be the only one that wasn't that because
yours was a safety hazard, wasn't it?
Which part?
The fire?
No. What was it? You had to reinforce the
shelf.
The record shelves. Yeah. So that wasn't too bad. It was just so the Bill, who's our contractor builder guy,
right?
Who is responsible. Him and me are the ones who built the room out and stuff. And so he comes over every now and then to work on stuff. And he was looking at it one day, and he started to notice that kind of the little like the plus sign part in there.
Yep.
That was all kind of separating, and you were starting to see the pegs a little bit that held them that IKEA Kallax furniture together. Mm-hmm. And so
shout out to IKEA.
Yeah. So when we built
the official furniture of Passionate DJ,
they're making some money off DJs.
Also 4 of us for sure.
But when we built the room, we reinforced that wall really heavily,
right?
Because I knew that
heavy
ass records are going here, so we knew that. But the shelf itself was getting a little wonky, so he put some angle iron on the bottom and some wood glue and blah 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 whatever, and straightened it out. It looks great now, but.
For anybody who is using the Kallax shelving from IKEA, if you're running into that problem, because there's a bunch of DJ hacks out there for IKEA furniture, and so where what I'm using is I forget the name of the feet, but they're like 4-inch metal feet that
they're adjustable too.
Yeah, they're adjustable. Yeah. So I've got one on each corner of each of my Kallax shelves. But if you've got the 8 cubes, so 2x4, then that gets 4 inches up off the ground so that it's easier to use DJ equipment. But if you put too many records on, you get that
smile.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing is taking a 4x4 and just planing it. Ripping one side of it to where I could fit, one piece underneath there so that it rests on there weight. And then it holds the weight in the middle, and then adjusting the feet to, support the 2 sides. And I haven't had any problems since then. The only thing that I do still want to do with that is I want to paint those like either black or this espresso color so that, when you walk in, you don't see, there's a ripped 4x4 down there.
Right.
And Josh came over. He did almost the same thing for me. He put blocks on each corner.
Yep.
Like probably like 4x4 blocks.
Yep.
But then what we did is we wrapped them in a black velour.
Oh, cool.
So when they're on the wood floor, I can just push
slide.
it and it slides.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I guess I should explain for new or audio listeners, I have the 2x4 Kallax shelves, and they're all full of records, but it's literally mounted to the wall, which is not what you're supposed to do with it. That's just what I did.
Yeah.
They're mountable to the wall, but they're not meant to hold records, so that's where that comes in. So
and I went with the Kallax, but I went with the 5x5.
Oh, nice. So yours sits on
5x5.
Yeah, mine's sitting up against the wall, and I have like records and like some of my military stuff and some just things that need to be stored.
Yeah. Tell you what's yours in the other room?
I have a 5x5.
I thought it was bigger.
No, it's a 5x5, but it's it used to be all records. like all records, and then the thing started coming. So now I'm only using the bottom 2 for records, and the rest is like a candle
Tony,
here, a little figurine here.
I'm tired.
And it went through 2 moves, I think.
Yeah.
And IKEA's not like once it's built, it's
Yeah, it's not
just keep it at the house.
quality,
Something
yeah.
that big.
just leave it for the next owners.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but my room is plenty big. I've got as much room as I need in there, so it wasn't so much that. It was I had a lot of ergonomic issues in there. So like I have back issues and neck problems and bad posture and whatever. And so, one thing was I have a corner desk as well, and I was staring at dual monitors, kind of like you got here, but I was staring right at the middle of the 2 monitors, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I'm looking at my main monitor, I'm looking like 1 to 2 inches to the left, and my other monitor is 1 to 2 inches to the right, and that's all it takes for me.
Okay.
And a headache all day, neck starts hurting, got to stop working, got to go take Tylenol, whatever. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And so I was like, screw all this, I'm done with this. But I'm also not willing to go down to 1 monitor. I've been a multi-screen user since I was a teenager.
Crazy talk right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I said, well, if I'm not going to do 2, I'll do 3. So I put 1 main screen there in the corner, and then I've got 2 like in kind of off on the side, and they're kind of more like, these are my auxiliary monitors that when I need space to put shit, I'll just toss them over here.
Okay.
Snap a spreadsheet over there or whatever. But when I'm playing a game or I'm working on a song or I'm whatever, I'm using this screen over here.
Right.
And that little change has made a world of difference.
No kidding.
For me. Yeah.
When you're talking about the headaches, I started to notice that because in my military job, like I was looking at screens a lot, but now I'm looking at screens like the entire day. I got some of those glasses with the blue blocker,
blue light
literally
filter.
blue filter stuff.
Yeah.
Made a world of difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because my wife actually found it in like a fitness article or something, and talking about exposure to all that blue light, keeps your brain going.
Right.
And she was having problems getting to bed at night, so she just bought like a pair off of Amazon for like $20. They're not prescription; they look like regular glasses, but it's got the filter in it. And once she started wearing those, she started noticing it was easier for her to get to sleep. And like I get some of those screen headaches, so then I bought a pair and started wearing them, and I noticed immediately, like within a day or two, like, oh shit, this is making a huge difference. So
Nice.
I actually just went to the optometrist a couple weeks ago, and I actually had them specifically put that filter on my my readers and my distance vision glasses. So when I get those, I'll report back.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know if that helps. I use like the like all the Apple devices have like their warm mode or whatever that it
same.
switches to, and I usually just leave it on anymore.
I'm so Apple now.
You are so Apple now.
It's been like, what, 3 years, 4 years now? No, go ahead.
That feels like victory.
It was.
Excellent.
That was
The irony of that is now I'm using my Windows machine more now because I can stand to sit at my desk instead of my MacBook.
Right. So, I mean, to your point there, though, that was one of the things for me that's I took a similar approach to my redesign, but to make it closer to my workstation at work.
I remember you talking about that, but
Like
that makes sense why you did it though.
But that's like that's like the antithesis to like
Having a home office.
or no, like to boost up like your creative energy. You
Just
don't
to make it more like your office.
more like work, right? No, that's not.
I've totally
right?
just given in on. I've lost that battle already. I feel like the space that I'm in is already a workspace for me and my wife and
Right.
my creative space, and I'm like, this room is too ideal for me. I'm just going to deal with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and it's one of those things like when you have a shared space like that, which is really unusual to have like a music studio in a shared area like that.
Right.
Especially where I'm, that's where I record videos and everything out there, but my wife's real cool about that. If I'm like, hey, you guys are coming over, we're going to have the room from 6 on. She's like, okay.
Right.
And then that's it. So it's
Hi, Stacey.
hi, Stacey. Hi, wife.
If you need a house, in the Miami Valley area, home team.
Stacey at DaytonHomeTeam.com if you're moving to the area. But
What you're talking about, like combating that creative space, like where what I did is like I said, I physically have 3 areas. So like the first one is my iMac on like a big stand-up desk. Then I got one of those like studio chairs, so I can either sit down or I stand up and do like my for the One More Rep podcast, like I'll edit there and I'll edit like videos that I'm starting to try and make. Then the other desk, the middle one, that's like my work computer. I do have my MacBook hooked up to that for my DJ stuff, and I'll use it every on occasion. Then like if you at a right angle, that's where all my DJ stuff is set up there.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, almost 3 separate work areas for different parts of my brain.
Yeah, and I think that's why I can get away with it too, is because even though it's in the same room, like I have different areas for these tasks. Yeah. Like when I'm working on something that's not this stuff, I'm usually like way ass on the other end of the room where the bar is, and I sit there, and I've got a dual monitor thing going on there with my laptop too. So and I just work over there, and mentally it's a different thing when I'm over there doing that than when I'm on the other side of the DJ booth, which is kind of corralled a little bit.
That's kind of the only difference is that the only place I have to put a computer, whether it's my creative or work, it all has to go right here. But that's just a limitation of the room. But this was always intended to be the DJ booth, because of that view. I mean, that view is just amazing.
You have to capitalize on that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to beat that.
And it's funny that we have the same backyard, but like the view is so different from his window versus my window. Yeah.
But over here, so like one of the biggest things that like when I was trying to explain to my wife how I was going to do this, and she's like, this right here is where she didn't get it. She didn't think that this made sense until after she saw everything.
This is what?
Sorry. We're doing audio and video. So it's a corner desk, and looking into the corner, I've got just a couple of 23-inch screens, and then to the right of that is about a 40-inch extension off of that, and that contains my my S49, and then I've got a micro Korg on a keyboard stand hovering over it.
Yeah, it's like a large capital L shape in the corner.
Yeah. So. What she didn't understand was, so before, with that studio desk that I had before, the keyboard's in front of you, the screen's in front of you, so everything's in front of you, and you can, so you look at what you're doing there and there. What she failed to understand is with the S49, all of the Mark IIs in the Native Instruments series, they've got 2 big LCD screens, so you can do all of your like sound editing. You can do you can do sample selection. You can do all of this, everything you need to do. You can do from that unit. And if you use Ableton, Logic, or whatever, all the major DAWs, I think it supports. But then there's a mixer function, so you can actually push a button, and it will take you to a mixer, and it will control Ableton Live, and you
from
can
there.
From there. So all I have to do is like come over here, pull out a stool, and then I can actually get myself in the zone with this without staring at a screen.
That's so funny because I did almost the same thing with different Native Instruments gear.
Yeah.
For the same reason. Like, so my keyboard's not quite as fancy as yours.
You've got a Mark I.
It's got feedback, like visual feedback, but it's not like a high res, like whatever 300 something pixel screen. But my Machine Studio is.
Right.
And so where it was sitting, I couldn't put a laptop there, and that was driving me crazy, that if I needed to put, what if I want to put something from here onto here, and it's just handy to have it right next to me. And so I was like, well, the same thing with the Machine Studio. It's got a built-in mixer with the screens, and as I can switch modes, and I can do it's kind of, it gets you laser focused on what you're doing on that piece of hardware then, and you don't have to look at the screen at all. It's like the Control S8 with DJing. It's the same kind of concept. You don't have to look at the screen if you don't want to.
Right.
And so I took it and I moved it. Mine's also shaped like a large capital L, and so I moved it way over on the other end because I'm like, if I'm over here, it doesn't matter. I'm doing this right now. I'm finger drumming or whatever I'm doing. So yeah, that's kind of funny.
That's for me, like that. So this whole like kind of setup. So because I treat DJing and producing very differently. So when I'm in this zone, then I'm over here. When I'm producing, if I'm looking at the screens and I'm doing something, inherently that it belongs in Ableton, okay, fine. And if I'm getting real technical or tweaking or doing any of that kind of stuff, then it makes sense for me to be in that mode. looking at the screen and using a keyboard and mouse. But as I'm like playing around more with teaching myself, more about piano or keyboarding and really kind of playing around with synthesis and really dialing into like settings of these synthesizers and really playing with that stuff, it's a different tactile feeling. And it gets you in a different headspace when you're actually playing with the gear rather than tweaking settings on a computer.
It's like using hardware, even though it's
not. Well, I mean, one of them is, but yeah,
well, yeah.
But so yeah, it's just been that was the intent behind it, and so far, it's been pretty good. I've had a good experience with it. So,
did you see that I had the bars in the DJ booth refinished?
I did, like the inside wall. So
yeah, so the Bill, the guy I was talking about earlier, we had been talking about it for a long time, and I was like, I think I'm ready to do this. I'd like it to look a little better on camera, and it's it's hard to keep clean, and it's been in here like this for years. I want to do something with it, but I don't have a big budget to do it, and he was like, yeah, and he's real good about working with me on that stuff, just because we're friends, and he knows I can at least hold a hammer and things, And so what he did was basically just like created an oak veneer that went over the front in sheets, and then he stained it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like way more high end now, even though it's not at all.
Yeah.
It's like
the pictures looked amazing.
Like $50 in materials, and a couple of days of time.
He knows what he's doing though, and that's the difference.
Yeah. And you get the homie hookup too. But
right.
But then the lighting that we were FaceTiming the other day, and you do all the
I put
LED lighting.
Put some LED light strips
around
and
the
stuff
whole
on there.
Workspace too, though. Well, and your video game space and everything.
But it wasn't entirely for aesthetic reasons, though, because what people don't usually see on the other side of the DJ booth is it was just like nasty open plywood ribs, and it collected dust and dirt and pet hair, and it was kind of gross back there, and it always bothered me. But it's like the only people that ever saw it was us. The four of us,
right.
But I was like, the more time I spend out there, the more it's bugging me that I had to see it, right?
Were you just sitting there staring at it like, do something?
And on top of that, the other side of it is cable management. I had a cable management problem. And so I was like, I'm going to solve...
That's the inherent challenge when having a studio as big as yours is,
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to solve both of these problems at once. So he closed in all those ribs. It's all like nice and smooth back there now.
And then you have those... all the outlets back there and everything.
Yeah, with plates, and they're all nice. And then I took along the inside of the... So if you've never watched the YouTube version of the podcast before, it's like a big curved bar, like a big piece of macaroni. It's that kind of shape. And so the...
you got it from a bank or something?
No, I got it from our friends Mary Catherine.
Clash, the original Clash.
Yeah, she moved her consignment shop from to the current spot on 5th Street from a much bigger space. But the location was better, and she was like, I don't know what to do with these, and so we worked out a deal, and I've been using them ever since. But there was no cable management because it wasn't ever meant to be a DJ booth.
Was it a bar or what was it?
They were using it like that, or like kind of like a
counter register or something?
Yeah, register area or whatever. So I took on the inner side of that curve, which is where my desk is, where I sit, is just like a cable management strip. But if you just look at it, it just looks like a white piece of trim. And so it just looks like crown molding or something like that. And so that's all you see, but there's actually like a billion freaking wires in there. So all the and then the headphone splitter runs through there,
and splitter, and then also the XLR connections are all like
for all our
independently
mics.
Hanging at metered distances, so that way we can just jack right in.
So you see like an XLR cable hanging out with like 2 inches of cable, and that's it, and a little tag that says mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, mic 4.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great back there now. So it's a lot better place to spend time, even if nobody else is there.
Right.
And that was really important to me. And
that's been my experience with this. Because I mean, especially over the past couple of years while I was trying to, hunker down and finish my degree, we haven't recorded here in forever. I haven't really been working on music that much, or if at all. The most action that this place has seen in a long time is I got rid of my Pioneer gear and bought all this Denon stuff.
That's about the biggest change you can make these days.
Well, right.
Don't take that lightly, man.
Hashtag change your writer. So on the other side of the wall, we talked a lot about my setup over where my computer is and where the DJ booth is, but just aesthetically, so along this other wall,
behind you all in YouTube land.
Yeah, in YouTube land, it's behind you.
Yeah.
Turn around. In that space, I had 3 Billy bookcases from IKEA. Again, hashtag IKEA. So,
hashtag sponsor us.
Right. One of them was the longer one, and then the 2 on the ends were like the CD, DVD kind. So Gina and I had to have a heart-to-heart about those things because those were our combined CDs and our combined DVDs. Mm-hmm. And when's the last time anybody listened to a CD or pulled out a DVD to watch the movie?
I actually did to listen to the Boys in the Hood soundtrack. Yeah, which was awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm not a huge book reader. I do read a lot, but it's for me to go out and buy books and then read them and keep them on a shelf. It's just so the bookshelf I had was mostly catching knickknacks and router equipment and
some
cloud
SSL
storage
manuals.
Yeah, and there was one shelf that was literally just Gina's inbox for me. Here, this came in the mail. I want it out of the general area. You take care of it, and so then there was, of course, I don't ever take care of things as they come in. So there would be this pile of paperwork or mail that just whatever. So anyway, but
it almost went to the ceiling.
Went to the ceiling, yeah. So I don't know why it was bothering me. I guess it was fine, but it just wasn't. It felt like it was taking up so much of the room.
I liked it because of all the stuff you had on there. It was kind of like a montage of things Team Turlington.
Right.
But now that it's not here and this wall is exposed and this big picture, which Dave, you need to.
It opened up the room.
Yeah, it really makes the room feel bigger. Just
really
by
does.
cutting that thing in half, literally.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to quote Lebowski here soon? Really tied the room together. Oh, no, that's the rug. That's the rug. Which, it's funny, because if you notice the rug, I don't know if it's in the shot or not, but
it's in that one, I think. Yeah.
It's all these gray, it's different shades of gray cubes. And
there's a story behind the rug.
There's a quick story about the rug is this room is decorated with a bunch of album covers and Auralex sonic pads to cut down reverb in the room. So when I was looking for a rug, I was just looking for a rug or whatever, right? So then but Gina felt the need to have approval on whatever the rug would be. So anyway,
shout out Gina.
Right. So anyway, we went through a bunch of different rugs online and nope. And then when I found this one, I loved it. She said, "Sure, let's give it a shot." But when I ordered it, I ordered the wrong size.
Yeah.
It was 3 times the size of this room or something.
It was like a runner from a royal wedding or something.
Something. So I ended up having to call my brother, who worked for a flooring company at the time, and so he was able to take the rug, cut it down, and then re-seam the ends of it to make it fit the room.
Nice.
So I still have plenty of this downstairs.
You need a runner for your hallway, bro?
Yeah. So that's been kind of the theme here. So cubed shelving for records, the cubes in the rug,
lots of squares,
lots of squares in the room. But then, so when I was trying to think of what I'm going to put over there, I knew I needed something that I could set computer equipment. So router, switch, network storage, external hard drive. DVR for the security system, so there's all kinds of stuff that I knew I was going to need to, have on in this room. And, so just immediately my mind went back to Calyx, so I've got a 3x3. It's got the printer. It's got all of that stuff. And then it's got, some of the, I've drastically cut down on all the knick-knacky stuff, but kept the most sentimental of stuff up there.
To include Voltron.
To include Voltron.
And that was probably less than $200, right?
Oh, these things are dirt cheap.
Yeah, I think that 3x3 is $79.
Yeah,
$79.
Yeah, those are like
yeah,
60.
It's something.
Yeah, my 5x5 is a little bit more. I think it cost me about 130, but it's obviously significantly larger than that.
Bought a billion of them. I can't even remember. Right. It's been so long.
But then, I also got 3 of those like boxes that fit in those, so that
those are like
so that for all the loose
piece,
all the loose crap that I didn't have anywhere else to put, was able to slide it all into those. Keeps a lot cleaner look. And then, we mentioned the canvas, so shout out to Tony. Still to this, I mean, I don't know that will ever leave probably top 2 or 3 of all gigs of all time. Like that was. But that's from where I opened up for Paul Oakenfold doing direct support at Mask. And who was the photographer?
Brandon Urig.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing shot. I absolutely love it. So I had it put on I think that's a 28 by 36 or 24 by 36 something. Canvas.
It is 24 by 36. I can tell.
Yeah.
No, because that's like the handstand push-up box for CrossFit. That's the only reason why I'm looking. I was like, yeah, that is.
Yeah. So that to me, it just felt more like, okay, we're bringing back the musical juju back into the room.
It's such a great photo too, because the crowd reaction that you're getting there. And Mo and I were trying to figure out if that's Stacy right there.
I always thought it was. So
it is. Like I said, it is now. Yeah.
It definitely looks like her.
Like this guy over on the left, who's got his eyes closed, but he's got his fist in the air, backhand, like he's just like, he's like that baby meme. Who's like,
and this other cat down here with the hat backwards and his head's down, his fist is up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that.
I'm over here somewhere looking mean with my medium shirt. Yeah.
But I mean that photo really just captured, the essence of that set. That was just amazing. There were a lot of other good photos. I mean, how many people get a hug from Paul Oakenfold?
That's right.
It was really cool. So, and I've always loved that photo, and I always wanted to frame it. Or even put it on a canvas, but just did not have the room or space to do it. So once I did, then put an order in for that and got her in there. So
it's an amazing shot.
Yeah. And it's also kind of sad looking at it now.
Yep.
Because unfortunately, for those of you that aren't local, the club that this event occurred shut its doors.
Last month?
Yeah, last few weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. So it's still stings a little, but that I had the opportunity to be there for a night like that.
Oh yeah,
and have seen all 3 of you. That's a special.
Oh yeah,
image.
I remember when you had me come and play. Like when did the club open?
2004.
I think
it was around 2000
right.
and when we started doing those local nights.
Yeah,
it was like 2005, I think it was.
Yeah. So because it was a very different booth than what you see in that shot right there. Mm-hmm. Remember they had the turntables on floating platforms.
Floating, yeah.
It was amazing. I remember the first time I put my hands on that in 2005. I was all like, damn,
that's crazy.
They are sparing no expense.
That trend continued for many years.
Absolutely did.
Absolutely.
So, Mo, with your space, you actually sent me some information that you did some what? Can you get into the specifics about what custom work you did to get?
I kind of did like a Franken-desk thing.
Okay. Was it like multiple pieces of IKEA?
Oh yeah, it was all. Well, majority of it is IKEA. The rest of it is from Office Depot.
Okay.
Or something, but like, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what made you do that? Were you just trying to get a lot of like bang for your buck as far as surface space, or
is for the DJ setup area? Yeah, that was specifically my whole intention was to get as much depth out of a desk as I possibly could.
Okay.
Because that was the problem I was having was with my DDJ 1000 in the flight case. Like I didn't want to take it out and then have to put it back in and then throw it in the van and then do all that stuff. So that was the biggest challenge I was having, is finding something that was deep enough where I could put my 1000, put my S4.
That makes sense because it doesn't fit on my booth. I've
Yeah.
tried. Your flight case doesn't fit
You
on my
gotta
booth.
take it out, yeah. And then so my ultimate goal is to like have the S8 with the two 1200s up there too, but I don't think that's going to work. It's just
like tractor scratch rig.
Yeah. I like right now I just have one turntable up there and I listen to records as I'm working. But I was having a difficult time finding something that was at least 6 feet long, but also like the 3 feet in depth. I could find narrow ones, or I could find ones that were shorter but deeper, but I couldn't find the Holy
Gotcha.
Grail. And short of having something made custom, which I did kind of source that, and that was going to be really expensive. And I just happened to, because I guess IKEA doesn't really sell a lot of these. And I was digging through the website and the catalog, and I discovered this the one flat surface. It's 6x3, and you can. And so then the next challenge was getting it to the right height that I wanted, because the one that I did find, they had it just on regular table legs like that, and I was like, well, shit, that's not going to do me any good. Again, hunched over. And then I found out that they made it's height adjustable legs, and I think it goes anywhere from like 46 to like 28 inches or something. So they're really long. So I was able to get it like right just above waist height.
Yep.
Nice.
So that way I can put my flight case on there, mess with the 1000, or slide over with the S4 and, be it, counter height. So, I mean, it's a little bit higher on the 1000, which is fine. I mean, I can't have it all. But if I wanted to, I can go back and readjust those legs. You just screw them and readjust them. And it actually, obviously, with all that kit on there, you don't want to slide that thing around because
tipping hazard.
So tipping hazard or one of the legs is going to rip.
Yeah.
But you take off the 1000 with the flight case and the S4. I mean, it doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah.
And like I can actually like kind of just get in the middle of it and pick it up and move it around if I had to. So, really good choice for what I was looking for, because I actually had the room to do it. Where obviously you couldn't have done that here,
Right.
but because originally, like, my desire was to go with the Kallax, like you guys all do, because that's what I've seen. But like I said, the depth just wasn't there.
Right.
So
That's the one challenge that I've got right now with this setup is that the Denon X1800 mixer is noticeably deeper.
Yeah.
than the than
the Pioneer stuff, and because of the lack of depth in the Kallax. So what I find myself doing is even just to like open the window or pull the shades and stuff like that, I have to pull the mixer out, do all or just slide it towards the front, and then I can push it back to a more comfortable place. But so and one of the challenges that I've had with this setup is that for those that are on the audio, I've got the X1800 in the middle. And then I've got one SC5000 on each side. And then on each side of that, I've got two KRK Rocket 8s on some monitor platforms. Then, and it's two Kallaxes put together in an L shape. So that's facing out the window. And then to the left on the L, then I've got two Technic 1200 SL 1200 Mark IIs. So the challenge there is that if you want to scratch, or if you want to somehow incorporate the 1200s, it's a lot of body twisting.
Yeah.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so what I would love to be able to do, and one thing that I've kind of considered, is looking at another one of these like corners and see like if it would make sense to put one of the corners on top of all of this, but then get another one of these like tabletops to put on top
just to
of
give
it,
you some more depth.
but to cut them
Yeah.
down. That way, I could like turn the corner into more of a cockpit.
Yeah,
And
so you
then
would
go-
kind of add a rounded corner to your two collects record shelves, which are kind of creating a corner now.
Right.
A right angle corner.
Yep.
The
You kind of put
turntable-
a surface on that.
Actually, when you have it battle style, the feet are barely on, like they're leaning.
Right.
And there's some times where you barely hit it, and
Yep.
so the turntable battle style doesn't even really fit this.
No. So that's why I was thinking, like, if I turn the corner into a cockpit.
I'm just
with
saying that's the problem that I have.
Right.
It sucks.
Because then I can keep my turntables, turned, facing forward, but put one on each side.
Yep.
And have a more traditional layout that way.
sorry.
But I mean, for as much as I get out my vinyl, which isn't as often as I do just get over here to jam, especially now that I'm all in on Record Box for my library management, and then at home I'm all in on Prime, and import my Record Box stuff. So it's like I don't even do time code DVS anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have a need for it. So
You just play wax or you don't.
yep,
I don't
exactly.
play cassette tapes either, bud.
That's a good one. I like it.
So I guess to sort of wrap it up, and I think if you guys are down, at least Trip and Mo, we're going to maybe shoot some YouTube footage and do a little mini tour of what you guys have done here, and then maybe
Sure.
we can come back later, Tony, you and I, and do the same with our spaces and,
Yeah,
and put
absolutely.
something together. But is there anything about our spaces, now that we've kind of all done some changes to them and stuff and spent some time in there, is there anything that you newly hate about the space, or you still hate about the space, or if that's too strong a term, is there anything you would change if you could?
Cable management for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that, because I look down and I see 2 power strips.
I feel ya.
And speaker cable, not speaker cables, but IEC power cables.
Yeah.
Just, it's,
I feel I've invested a lot of time in cable management in that room, and I've rewired shit in that room probably like 800 times, like just because no, there's a more efficient way, and then I go redo
It's
it.
gotta be better.
Yeah. And I've got like all the little wire straps, the Velcro straps all over the place, trying to keep it all reined in, and yeah, that's big, man.
Yeah, the cable management definitely for me too, because I'm not super clean about it, but like I do enough to like as I'm going along, and then like try to coil up and wire tie like excess.
Yeah.
Rather than spending a bunch of money on more cables, that are the exact fit and all of
Turning
that.
it into a nut, man, about that stuff.
so-
I'm getting crazy with it.
But
I lucked out with that because of all the mobile shit.
right.
So I have like all these various lengths
Yeah, yeah.
and colors,
Yeah.
and things like that, and angles. So I lucked out there.
Yeah, so for me, I think for me, the biggest thing is that I just know where I was a little sloppy with it, even if you can't see it right away.
Oh, you mean like right over there?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, it's just bullshit, dude.
Kidding. But, yeah, aside from that, like, as far as the space, I think this is the first time in a couple of years that, like, I really feel, like, comfortable. And I mean, just since graduating and doing all of this, like I've already started like half a dozen new tracks, and
Nice.
Nice.
like I've been playing around.
I
in
feel
here,
like that's
so,
huge too when you're making just when you want to sit down and mix and do something, like just being comfortable in your space and the way that it flows.
Absolutely.
makes you want to be there.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was the big thing for my wife, is she wanted me to start DJing more, and by having all that stuff in there, like she can hear me playing, and she might not necessarily care for all the stuff I play, but she likes the fact that I play,
Right.
because she knows
Yeah.
it makes me happy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm big on that too, because like I said earlier, I spend so much time in that room that it's like I spend a lot of time like messing with lighting and stuff, and not just like this will look good on camera, like lighting for when I'm spending time in the room, like not being too bright, not being too shadowy, like all these, like I'm getting super picky about it, but like I feel that the more hours you spend in there, the more things I notice like that. And I'm like, man, it's always so shadowy in this corner. And then it gets stuck in your head for a while. And then I come back a month later, man, it's always shadowy in this corner. And someday I end up doing something about it. And over time, it becomes a place that's like you walk in and it's like a blanket. You're just like, this is my space.
Yeah.
For me, I wish someone out there, and maybe one of you guys can make your millions this way, or you guys watching and listening, is that if there was some way to make a thing to hold laptops onto a desk so they're not on the surface of your desk.
Like with a clamp
or something, or like hanging off the side, or that I can attach underneath.
That has to exist.
You'd be amazed.
Really?
Yeah, there is, but like I couldn't really find anything that would work for me, so I actually wound up putting my laptops on my Calyx that's next to my desk and just running wires out that way, because laptops you don't really think are very heavy until you put 2 of them on top of your desk, and then you're trying to lift it up to stand up, and you're like, man, this desk got real heavy. And then I took them off, and I was like, oh shit, I had two 7-pound laptops on my desk. That's why it was heavy. So,
also, side note, I love how we all say the IKEA furniture differently. It's like I said Kallax, you said Calyx, you said Calyx.
Yeah.
What's your choice?
Particle board.
I like it.
Oh, and they actually do have IKEAs in Sweden. When I was there last summer, there was one right next to our hotel.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we wrap up?
No.
All right. Let's shoot some footage of these studios then.
Let's do that.
Let's get our mess out of the way, and then we'll shoot footage.
Yeah.
And with that, this has been the Passionate DJ Podcast. Thank you so much. Keep on spinning.
Easy.
You call me